Just as we fondly recall our childhood, let us recall now the youthful days of mankind. In the land of the great River Nile, we worked and lived proudly 5,000 years ago. What were we like then? Not like this, of course, but the Sphinx and the pyramids are monuments to our pride and fervor. Engineering these mighty pyramids helped launch our race on a whirlwind drive for knowledge. What were we like? We were dark, short, slender, and intelligent, and we began thinking for the first time about the relationship of man, nature, and God. Here on the Nile, where we benefited from the fertile lands, we created a calendar to gauge the floods and gave a year 365 days. We lived well in our formative stage. Some, like cousin Cleopatra, fared better than others. But joined by understanding and common travail, we peoples of the Nile formed the first nation on earth. We erected this dam in Aswan much later, around the turn of the 20th century, to gain better control of our big river. If we hadn't learned how to build pyramids, perhaps we couldn't have made such a structure. Ironically, the old Aswan Dam threatens one of our early monuments, the Island of Philae, where water, backing up, submerges it 9 months of the year. Built by several royal heads, the holy island was dedicated to Isis, our goddess of farming, magic, and healing. In fact, some of our contributions at this time were medicine and surgery. The artistry of Philae told of our beginning and may tell more someday. But when another dam is erected upriver, it'll remain buried in muddy water forever. It will if we don't build locks to protect it. And in construction, we're still experts. In bas-reliefs, we paid homage to the hawk-headed god Horus and told stories of the pharaohs' lives, of their glories in battle, some true, some exaggerated to impress the gods. The treasured temples of Philae, with imposing columns in Hellenic style, race back through history to the first millennium BC. Today, the sacred sanctuaries still ignite the imagination. This is one of the reasons for the new dam. The vast arid fields of desert where 2 million acres could become thriving lands of farm and factory, supplied by irrigation and power through the creation of an artificial lake more than 300 miles long, up to 16 miles wide. Here is the dam site above Aswan, where another spectacular engineering miracle will rival the pyramids for first position among the 7 wonders of the world. While the new dam will benefit the living, and I dare say we deserve the majority of consideration, the dammed water will engulf this area and utterly destroy the masterpieces that God has preserved, so we could have a memory of what Shakespeare's Cleopatra called our salad days. From here in Nubia, up the river into the Sudan, all the temples, chapels, tombs, fortresses, and other irreplaceable antiquities are threatened with submersion for eternity. We started building this Temple of Kalabsha about 1400 BC, later laying a Greco-Roman structure, which in turn was rebuilt by Augustus. It too can tell us what we were like then. The colonnades we designed are still in style. From the reliefs and inscriptions, hieroglyphics, and wonderful paintings, we learn other facts of our past. We discovered that at this age we also gave the world, for the first time, a way to write, paper to write on and ink to write with. Some of the reliefs are being recorded in plaster. Actually, there is still some time left for excavating, with the finder allowed to keep half the treasures he uncovers. These workers are testing the soil for the possibility of moving the whole sanctuary stone by stone to a nearby oasis. Safeguarding the monuments has become a major project of the United Nations. Further up the Nile, we visit the remains at Dendera, one of the most charming small sanctuaries dating from the Greco-Roman period. Once again, we learn more of our distant ancestors, which is to learn of ourselves. What else at this time did we contribute to civilization? Would you count clarinets and drums, harps and lutes, beer and glass, horse and chariot? The Greek historian Herodotus called Egypt the gift of the Nile. But now these testaments in stone belong not to one nation or one generation, but to all through the ages. Darka Temple was dedicated to Thought, god of wisdom and writing, preserved since the 3rd century BC by the dry air and drifting desert sand. For a few more months, tourists and scientists can also sail upriver to Wadi Sabur, ordered by Ramses II for the god Amun. This was the Valley of the Lions, the only such avenue so preserved. Hewn out of sandstone and in poor condition, it cannot be saved, only recorded for fleeting moments now on film. It's like losing a part of your memory. We can read of our heritage, but the impact comes in seeing for ourselves. The great Temple of Deir is almost completely carved out of the rock. Ramses II dedicated this to the 3rd god of the empire, Re. The United Arab Republic will transport its walls to museums in other countries in recognition of those who cooperate in saving the treasures. Believing in a life after death, the kings spent their time in this world constructing and decorating the richest, most permanent tomb possible as a home for the next existence. These symbols of splendor advance the arts and literature of man. On the walls of these caves at Qasr Ibrahim are priceless paintings. Some caves have revealed life 10,000 years ago. Before archaeologists became fascinated in solving mysteries, there were preposterous suppositions about the early days of man. Concluding our voyage up the Nile, a voyage back in time, we reached the masterpiece of all the Nubian and Sudanese antiquities, the temples of Abu Simbil, hewn out of solid sandstone 172 feet into the cliff, so immense it is impossible to displace safely. Built by Ramses the Great in commemoration of his world conquests, it is fronted by magnificent colossi of the king and his wife Nefertari, 65 feet high, with faces 14 feet 6 inches across. One was damaged by later generations, perhaps in search of hidden treasures. If the 82 member nations of UNESCO succeed, Abu Simbil will be saved by a wall built around it, or be lifted up 200 feet right out of the mountain. Further decoration of the temple is a smaller shrine near the main structure, with more colossi representing Ramses and Nefertari and the children of the royal pair. Inscriptions and bas-reliefs try to influence the gods with pleas, prayers, rituals, and mystic spells. Thousands of millions of men have followed on Earth. But this age of ours on the Nile deserves to be remembered. We built the framework for the arts and sciences. That's what we were like then. A proud, reflecting, dignified people who still speak to the world after 50 centuries of time.